Hello, everybody. It is Thursday in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. My name is Adam Bittner, assistant sports editor for multimedia at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, joined for our weekly chat by Post-Gazette sports columnist Jason Mackey. A lot to get to this week, a lot of quarterback conversation in different respects. Shedeur Sanders is in town. Aaron Rodgers remains unsigned, maybe concerned with a Kirk Cousins situation developing in Pittsburgh. Justin Fields is speaking out now that he's in New York and why things soured in Pittsburgh. So we have a lot to get to on the Steelers front. Also, that TJ Watt Instagram post that has some people talking. We're going to get into that. Then we're going to talk Pirates over on the Post-Gazette Pirates YouTube channel. So if you haven't subscribed over there yet, please do. That's where we'll do segments 2 and 3, talking about Travis Williams, all of these gaffes that they've had in this opening week at home. Then getting into a little bit of baseball, Paul Skeens, the offensive struggles. So lots to get into this week. Jason, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. It's been a week over at the ballpark. We're going to get into that. Big night out. Did you go to Pat McAfee last night? I didn't.
I did not. I was doing other things.
Yeah, same. I did watch a little bit of it. It was interesting. But yeah, a lot to discuss, man. I'm ready for this quarterback issue to subside. It seems like the storyline that doesn't go away, but it's going to lead to a good conversation today. I have a good feeling.
Yeah, we might have as much as another month of this, Jason. We're going to get into that in a second. Before we do, just want to thank our sponsor. It is Edgar Snyder & Associates. Law firms come and go, but what law firm has been here in Western Pennsylvania fighting for injury victims for more than 40 years? It's Edgar Snyder & Associates. What firm has a staff of 130 people who live and work here? It's Edgar Snyder & Associates. Law firms come and go, but Edgar Snyder is the name you can always trust. So remember, there's never a fee unless they get money for you. If you've been hurt in an accident, call them at 1-800-94-EDGAR or visit www.edgarsnyder.com. They're available 24/7. Okay, Jason, we're going to go a little rapid fire here, potpourri of Steelers topics, than rather than focusing on any one thing. Jason McIntyre of Fox Sports was on Colin Cowherd's show earlier this week, speculated that the Kirk Cousins situation might be part of the reason Aaron Rodgers hasn't signed yet, that he doesn't want to get benched for a rookie 2 months into the season like Kirk Cousins did a year ago. Do you rule fair or foul, A, on the notion itself, and B, Rodgers finding any situation in the NFL where he's not going to face competition if he doesn't perform at age 41? Because we keep talking about the Vikings as the thing he's holding on to. J.J. McCarthy is there. So it's not like he's not going to get pushed if he doesn't perform in Minnesota either. Or am I missing something?
No, I don't think you're missing something, Adam. I think it's naive by Jason McIntyre. I think it's speculative. Look, the one thing about the Aaron Rodgers situation, we don't know. If you're trying to pretend like you're inside Aaron Rodgers' mind, you're not. I can't go there. Aaron Rodgers is a lot of things. A dummy is not one of them. And if you sign up for an NFL team, you realize that could happen to you. That's not ideal for Kirk Cousins. I certainly understand that. But I can't imagine Aaron Rodgers is basing his decision off of, are they going to draft somebody? Is somebody going to beat me out? Like, I don't know. I go back to a conversation I had with Sidney Crosby a bunch covering the Penguins. And we were talking about criticism and writers writing critically. And Sid has no problem with it. He's like, if you rip me based on facts, if I'm not scoring, whatever. He's like, do you think you put more pressure on me than I put on myself? I'm like, that's a good point. Like, do you think we are putting more pressure on Aaron Rodgers than he's putting on himself? So I just don't see that influencing the decision.
Yeah, I tend to agree, and especially because I just don't know how you could have that blinkered view of yourself at that age.
And sorry, you said rapid fire, and I just started blabbing. I'm sorry, that is not rapid fire.
No, I think that was a good explanation. Were you surprised that it didn't go down at the big night out that you mentioned?
No,
a lot of people were holding up that, with the relationship with Pat McAfee as maybe that's the night he's going to be introduced. There was tons of celebrities. It would have been the headline, but it would have fit in a broader tapestry of everything that they had going on there last night. I wasn't personally surprised just because I think they'd be showing up the Steelers to some extent. I don't know if the Steelers would like having their thunder stolen in that way, but that was just my impression of this.
Yeah, and I think you start out sending the wrong message. Like, if Aaron Rodgers does sign here, okay. And if it's going to happen on that state, like, you're just starting off like a circus. you're starting off the tail wagging the dog. You don't want that. If they're going to do this, they need to do it for all the right reasons. Now, why it's taken this long, I can't begin to guess. But so no, I wasn't surprised that it didn't happen last night. It shouldn't have happened. I'm glad it didn't happen. I still think it does, Adam. The only other alternative for me is just Aaron Rodgers saying, I don't want to do it. And if you're taking this long, maybe you're having those thoughts very seriously and you don't want to lead another team on. I get that. But like Art Rooney said, sooner or later, we need an answer. We're not going to wait forever. And they shouldn't wait forever. They should have already created this deadline, and they sure as heck better not wait until after the draft.
Yeah, going to be interesting to see how that unfolds. Jason, Justin Fields spoke to reporters and said more or less what we probably should have assumed to be obvious. He didn't feel comfortable getting benched at midseason for Russell Wilson. And you can kind of read between the lines there and infer that he didn't want to come back to a situation where the team didn't trust him. And he may have felt that Mike Tomlin didn't trust him and he'd always be looking over his shoulder. As opposed to going to New York, where he seems to be the guy and the unquestioned guy for them moving forward. What's your interpretation of those comments themselves? And B, if you could go back and do it again, knowing that you were going to lose Justin Fields in part because of the decision you made to go to Russell Wilson, would you have done the same thing when they were 4-2? And there were people in the organization that did want to see how much more Justin Fields could do.
Yeah, I don't question the decision when they were 4-2, Adam. I question the decision when they were spiraling down the stretch. I question the decision why you didn't go back to Fields. Going away from Fields in the first place, look, Russ was the first move they made. Regardless of how it worked out, at that point, you had curiosity about Russ. He is the more accomplished quarterback. He deserved to play when he was healthy. He didn't deserve to play late in the season when things were going poorly and you have a losing streak and the offense stinks. Why you don't take better advantage of Fields? And I do think that inability to do something became detrimental to their cause. I don't blame Justin Fields. I thought Justin Fields handled his comments recently in the exact right way, and he's allowed to feel that way. You don't want to come into a situation where you don't think you're going to have total trust, and it's probably a different situation for him with the Jets. I thought he did a very good job of articulating that. But if the question is when they were 4-2, should they have gone, should they have stuck it out with Justin Fields? I can't go there. I just thought the Steelers bungled the situation in another way.
When in the losing streak would you have tried going to Fields? Was it in the second half against Kansas City? I mean, is that the moment where you'd say the season is really, you can feel it slipping away? This does not seem like it's going to change. We have to change the narrative here.
So I'm not saying flip a switch. I'm saying I would have used Fields regularly in some way, showcased his athleticism, brought design packages specifically for him. In that, I don't know what that would have led to. I mean, that might have been some obscure situation, I don't know, in the early in the game in Cleveland or something like I'm just making up a scenario. I would have been fine with that scenario in Kansas City. Maybe the last game of the season, maybe you go to Fields, but no, I mean, my point was I would have had him more involved in the game plan, and they did not utilize him anywhere near what they should have, in my opinion.
See, I probably would have been more an advocate of flipping the switch, and I would have looked at that Kansas City game on Christmas where you're getting blown out in the first half, nothing's working, and saying,
you're not
this
wrong.
Isn't good enough.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, well, they weren't good enough, and they weren't going to be good enough, and that should have been that first half. The way that went should have been the sign to me.
I'm totally fine with that, Adam. I'm not disagreeing with that in the least. It's just I think you would have learned a little bit more along the way if you would have kept Fields involved. Even when you flip the switch, you say, you don't announce this publicly, but you say this within the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex. We got to keep Fields involved. Russ is going to be our starter, but Justin Fields is going to be involved, an important part of it. And they did that a little bit, and then they lost it, and they never brought it back. I didn't understand that.
Shedeur Sanders is in town today, Jason, with his official visit to the Steelers. We've attacked it from a couple different angles on this channel, so I want to ask the question of you this way. He keeps falling down draft boards. He went from a consensus top 3 to then more of a top 5. Now I've seen him as consistently in the 7 to 9 range. It's not inconceivable that if he got past that point, that he could drop 10 spots to the Steelers. Is there a part of you that if he's available, if you're a pick 14, pick 15, that you just wanted the Steelers to go get Shedeur Sanders, and be done with this quarterback conversation, have him and Mason Rudolph, or no? I would go ahead.
So what happens with Aaron Rodgers in this hypothetical scenario? Is he unsigned, or do they?
Let's say he's unsigned and Shedeur is available, and you can just move on from this Aaron Rodgers conversation entirely.
All right. If I can move on from the Aaron Rodgers conversation entirely, I think I'd probably do it. I just think you need to fix the quarterback situation at some point. It's nothing against Shedeur Sanders personally, or I think he's going to be a good player. It's not a question of him. I question the team building concept of it. And right now, I mean, they have an offer out to Aaron Rodgers. Based on all we've seen publicly, Aaron Rodgers is highly anticipated or thought of going to sign here. So I'm operating, if you look at the draft and the quarterback situation, I'm operating under the assumption that they have Aaron Rodgers under contract, in which case I would not draft a quarterback. And I don't think they should draft a quarterback. I think they should draft immediate need. I think 2025 becomes your circled in Sharpie season. But if you're telling me Aaron Rodgers has not signed here and they've washed their hands of it, he's moved on, that's not a consideration, then yes, I would absolutely look at Shedeur Sanders. I think that makes a lot of sense. And probably, Cam Ward's not getting to him or to them. I have too many questions about Jackson Dart to take him in that spot. I think Sanders makes the most sense. And yes, you're right. They have to rectify the quarterback situation. And I have no issue taking the gamble on Sanders because I think he can play.
Jason, I've spent this whole process probably more in line with you. I think this is the week that it started to flip a little bit for me, where it is such a circus with Aaron Rodgers that I don't know that you want to I don't know that you want to invest a whole season in that if it doesn't work. And that's what you're going to do if you don't draft a quarterback. And I don't want to reach for one. I think Jackson Dart is still a reach at 21. I'd rather, if it's not Shedeur, I'd rather see them address it later in the draft and bring in a guy who has potential, but isn't necessarily coming in with the expectations of a first round pick. But if Shedeur's there, I find it difficult to pass him up, especially.
Would you take him even if they signed Rodgers, Adam?
I think I would, to be honest. Really? If he was at 21, absolutely. If you had to trade up a little bit, I might, get a little concerned with that. But they do seem disenchanted with these defensive linemen. They haven't brought in some of these guys yet. Kenneth Grant, Walter Nolan, the names we've spent a lot of time talking about, and they haven't gone to those pro days. And so to me, that's a signal that they're not as hot about the defensive line thing as a lot of us are on the exterior. And if that's true, and you're really looking at quarterbacks, I then have to say, which quarterback do I think would be the best fit? And I do think it would be Shedeur. So that's just where I'm coming from on that.
Sure. Yeah, I disagree on the defensive lineman thing. Like, what you're saying is accurate. I just don't understand how you can look at your defensive line right now and think it's good enough. It's not. You're not doing that's how you got run out of your season, essentially, that you weren't good enough up front. You can't stop the run. The owner of the team says we need to fortify our defensive front, and we're not looking at defensive linemen. What are we doing here? It doesn't make any sense to me. I completely agree with you on Sanders. I mean, it's just I would not do both because I think they have more immediate needs, and you're wasting your time signing a 41-year-old quarterback for a lot of money if you're not going to address everything else.
Unless they think they can get back into the second round, Jason, because I think there are guys in that range. If Walter Nolan falls, I mean, he's a name you might be able to get in the second round. How are you going to
get back into the second round, though? Like your comp picks in 26?
Trade your exist. I think they can't trade the comp picks this year, but they can trade next year's draft picks for this year,
right?
And then use the comp picks to backfill that. So maybe they think they can get an Alfred Collins, Darius Alexander. Some of these guys who are solid and address those things without one of these top guys, and then also, potentially take a shot on a quarterback. That might be part of the math here. So I'll be curious to see how that plays out. Jason, last thing on the Steelers here. Any thoughts on this TJ Watt IG post where it's given the peace sign? A lot of people are freaking out that it's him saying he's once out of Pittsburgh, or the end of the career may be coming sooner than we think. How gross of an over-exaggeration is that conversation?
I think it's probably a pretty large over-exaggeration. It is interesting. I mean, I understand why people go that way. I saw it last night and I'm like, what in the world? I don't see TJ Watt going out with an Instagram, something he puts on his Instagram story. Maybe I'm going to be wrong on that one. Maybe I'll eat crow by the time this publishes. I don't think that's the case. TJ Watt, his stature, like whether he's retiring, whether he's not re-signing with the Steelers, I don't know what he's doing there. I mean, he's clearly saying something. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's a veiled, I want to say goodbye to Aaron Rodgers. Like, peace, dude, get out. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff. Maybe he was leaving for vacation and was just telling people he's getting out of town. I don't know. I just have a hard time, don't you, seeing TJ Watt, all he's accomplished, like how we learn of his retirement is him giving a peace sign on Instagram. I don't know. It's just not going to happen. That seems so absurd to me.
Maybe he's just spreading good vibes, Jason.
That could be.
Isn't that what the peace sign is supposed to be?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not freaking out about it yet.
Maybe he's saying his second big contract. Maybe it's a 2.
Possibly.
Maybe it's an extension. The second one. This is taking him to retirement, and then he's going to retire after that. I don't know.
Maybe he's frustrated with negotiations, and maybe he is going into that place that many Steelers have, a feeling like they're worth more than the Steelers are offering, and maybe this is the beginning of that conversation. I really don't think it's the end of the conversation.
I agree with that. I wonder this too, Adam, if he put that up there just to sort of say like, "Hey, hi, remember me? I'm TJ Watt. We said we were going to talk about a contract extension, and we've talked all offseason. You guys are busy with quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, all this other crap. Like, hey, peace, I'm here too." I don't know. We're speculating here, but it was weird.
We will continue to monitor the social media posts here on the Thursday show with Jason Mackey, so make sure you subscribe for that. We're going to move on to Pirates here in the second segment. If you're on audio, don't go anywhere. It's all going to be one show. If you're on video, head over to our Pirates channel, subscribe, and check out our video. We're talking Travis Williams, the mess that has been over at PNC Park for the last week, and then we'll get into a little actual baseball topics on the other side. See you there.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.